Welcome, I'm the DeadwoodJedi. This is going to be another Raid Shadow Legends video. I've got a banger for you guys today. I'm going to be showing you, it's not going to be the greatest numbers you'll ever see in the world, but I'm going to show you basically what the #1 clan boss team in the world is right now. This is a team that, when in proper hands and with proper gear, we're talking Victor Tez, we're talking Mullet Reaver, we're doing 2 billion damage, basically hitting the damage cap in this game. Why is it capped there? It's some mathematical thing, but basically it's about 2 billion damage, which is insane. And it's called the Infinity Team, except this is the Infinity Team on a whole new level. Yes, I am on the test server. I wasn't going to build this on my main account because it uses too many champions that I actually like to use in a lot of different areas of this game, and I didn't want to ruin them for that. But obviously, test server, perfect time to use these things. And so I thought I'd bang this one out here. I'm not sure exactly when this video is coming out to you, but I'm doing this before the draft just to make sure I get it all nice and neat for you guys. Now, this video is sponsored, and so I want to show you that real quick. Today's video is sponsored by King Arthur Legends Rise. Produced by Kabam, this looks to be an exciting new addition to the squad RPG genre of games for both mobile and PC. The game takes you into an epic fantasy world centered around the legend of King Arthur. The campaign itself has a dark and mysterious vibe, immersing you in the perilous adventures of a young King Arthur. And with the Kingdom of Avalon battle-torn at the start, you must rebuild Camelot to become the ultimate fortress for your heroes. And of course, you'll also need to find and hone mythical relics to become the perfect weapons for your champions, because you'll need them to fight in the turn-based strategic combat that this game offers. As you adventure through Camelot, your squad of knights, mages, and rogues will only grow, and you're going to need these historical legends to battle the mythical monsters and epic bosses that you meet along the way. Powered by the Unreal Engine 5, the 3D graphics are stunning, and the enemies fearsome, and the quests inspiring. This looks to be a game that you don't want to miss, so I highly recommend go ahead, click the link in the pinned comment and description of this video, and wishlist it on Steam so that you'll stay up to date on all the latest news. Or if you don't want to wait and you want to play it before it launches, you can join the OBT, which should be available today on Google Play and Android in select regions. So this team that we're going to be looking at today is the Infinity Comp. And the idea behind that, I want to talk about how this comp works, why it works the way it does, and why I'm gearing the champions the way I am. Now, these runs can go insanely long, right? Mine's not going to go as long as the 2 billion damage teams, but it should still go pretty darn long. So we're going to be jumping a lot in this video as far as showing the run and what it can do, but there's some fun numbers in it, so it's going to be enjoyable to watch. But basically how this works is we have Krisk in here to give us ally protection, increase speed buffs, and extend the duration of all of our buffs that we're putting on our champions. We have Brogni in here, Underpriest Brogni, and his goal is to make the shields that we have on our champions grow bigger. And by growing those shields consistently, we're able to keep them up for the entire fight. And then we're going to use Corpulent Cadaver, a rare champion who he'll hit hard based off the size of the shields. And our shields are getting so insanely big that he's going to do insane kinds of damage. It's a absolutely bonkers comp. Now, I have covered this team before a few times, actually. You can, go watch a couple of the videos I've done before on this. But it's created by Sharky back in the day, utilizing a lot of reflex sets and, buff extension champions like Lanicus, especially Lanicus. I've done this as an unkillable version with the Mytha. But this is the best version because we're going to utilize 2 Yumekos. And by utilizing 2 Yumekos, we're literally going to have everybody's skills on permanent refresh. That means every time Chris takes an attack, he's going to extend the duration of buffs. Every time Brogni takes an attack, he's going to raise the size of the shields. And of course, because we're extending those buffs so much, they're going to stay on for the full fight. So all we have to do is put them on initially, and then they'll stay on us for the rest of the fight, which is kind of insane. And the damage can be absolutely bonkers in this comp. And this is due to Yumeko being able to cool down each other's skills. So I have 2 Yumekos. They can cool each other's skills down. So basically every other turn, one of them is going to be reset every turn. Basically, one of them is going to be resetting the skills of all the champions. And then the next turn, the other one will do that. So it's a very cool concept of a team, and it works extremely well. So that's what we're doing here. Now I'm going to show you the team here. Let me show you the team. I'll show you the speeds and we'll get in the run. Okay, now I will have this on the website by the time you see this video. So if you want to go check it out, you can go to the website and you can look up the, I believe we'll call it the Umeko Infinity, because that's basically what's going on here. It's an Infinity comp, but Umeko is obviously key to making this particular one work. And the speeds I have means that everybody goes at a 2-1 ratio. Now, is this the exact team that's being used by those 2 billion damage teams? I think so. I do have to check with both Victor Tez and Mullet Reaver to confirm that. They're good friends, so they'll help me out with this. They've actually imparted a lot of lessons along the way here. But yeah, these are going to be incredibly tight speeds to make this work. And so you're definitely going to want to check in the calculator, but you can look in the calculator and it'll show you exactly if it's supposed to be working or not. Basically, we have Krisk here at 267 speed, and that is the number that I found to work for this. We have Umeko at 270, 269. You'll notice one of them opens with their A2, the other one opens with their A3, and basically they're going to be able to alternate in that fashion. And then we have Underpriest Brogni here, 226 speed, basically needs to be 225 or faster, is really what's going to work for that. And then we open with the ability, the Resilient Glow, that gives us that block debuff ability, right? That's the important one, and the increased attack and the shield, but we don't need the shield. We're going to have that already, but we need to open with that so that we stay affinity friendly. And then after that, he's just going to use the Cavern's Grasp, which grows the size of the shields that we put on. And then, of course, we have Corpulent Cadaver. We're turning off everything, just A1. That's all we need. And so that's kind of the goal here. Now, the only thing that I really have to worry about as far as statistics, because Corpulent Cadaver is really doing all the damage, we can always fine tune things, right? I can get, everybody else to hit a little harder. I can get, blessings on them. I can do, crazy stuff like that. But really what we need to make this team work is just a lot of defense on these champions. The shield damage from Corpulent Cadaver isn't affected by really anything else. So all I really need to do is get their defense up as high as possible to mitigate as much damage as they take. We don't need to worry about their HP because they have these massive shields that's actually soaking up all the damage. The only other champion that I do need to pay attention to is Brogni, because Brogni needs to hit hard. The harder Brogni hits, the bigger those shields grow. And the bigger those shields grow, the more we can survive and the longer we can go and the more damage we can do. Kind of the whole idea behind this, right? And so it's a very simple team to run, right? We're going to open with Krisk A3 and then turn it off. We're going to, obviously one Umeko is going to be, resetting every single time. And then Brogni's going to open with the block debuffs, and then we're going to turn that off. And that's it. It's a very simple team to actually run, just a little bit complex to get set up. And you can run this with other champions instead of Umeko. You just need 2 other buff extenders. The trick, though, is getting it to be speed tuned so that you're going at that 2-1 ratio that you want to go at. It's obviously possible. You're basically just using Krisk and buff extenders to keep those increased speed buffs on everybody for the full fight. I actually might have Krisk a little bit fast for this. I haven't, explored all the permutations as far as the speeds go. I'm sure you can slow them down a little bit and make this work. I've seen, we have 2-1 ratios with Krisk that can kind of do that with other extenders. But because he's extending it himself, it's just, it works. It works really simple this way. So anyway, there's a lot of ways to kind of go about doing this type of a team, but this is the pinnacle. The pinnacle of all, this is the one. So let's go ahead, jump in, and we'll run. And you might be wondering, why do I have Krisk in the lead? Because he's going to help mitigate all the damage for everybody else. When he gets hit, that decreased attack spreads to everybody else. One thing that I probably should do, in fact, let's do that right now. I'm going to change the masteries on my Krisk. Normally, I would put him in this defensive set, but I think the better way to go with this is actually to go with a support set. And the big reason why is because by doing that, we're going to be able to hopefully, now I need to make sure I get this right. Right, so we got to come over here, down here. I don't want Lore Steel because, our speeds are set. But I really want to be able to do Master Hexer and extend the duration of the debuffs that we're landing. That's the big thing with him. And I think that's really it. That's all we really got to do over there. Oh, and we probably want to do this, right? Increases the value of the shields. I mean, it's not really important. Not really important, guys. I don't know how else to explain it. It doesn't really matter because he's only placing the shield at the very beginning, and the difference is unimportant, but we'll put it on anyway. Why not? Because we can, right? And so we'll do that. We don't need sniper. I don't know. We don't really need anything else, to be honest. I'll just put it on life shrink, or why not? None of these masteries are really going to matter. And you can take lore steal. I just have them speed tune already, so I didn't want to mess with it. But Master Hexer is going to be really nice because we can extend the duration of the debuffs, and that's our only source of decreased defense and decreased attack, which obviously are pretty important to have. So that's the team. Let's jump in. All right, as you can see, we start off with the normal shield, but you'll notice there's 2 shields there. That's because I have every single one of these champions in a divine set, right? Just one set, divine gear, but that gives them that divine shield. And so between those 2 shields, we're gonna have basically double shields. So when Brogni goes and extends, grows the shields, he's growing both shields. And that gives us a lot more survivability than we would normally have. I tried this once before without that, and we died way too quick. I was like, oh, it's the divine shield. That's what I need. That's the trick. And so I made sure to have that on all my champions, and it made a world of difference and easily doubled my damage. And then I quit the run because I didn't want to spoil things for me. I haven't seen how much this can do. I don't know how long this team can go. But you can see in the very beginning, we get all the buffs up, and then we just extend them. And that's all we're going to be doing for the rest of this fight, is extending them. You won't see any more, you won't see any less buffs on these champions, as we're just going to continue to grow those shields. In fact, if you watch, those shields are going to get denser and denser and denser, to the point where you're not even going to be able to see any of the HP on these champions. It's just going to be that white bar full of HP shield, which is insanely good. So that's kind of the goal here. You can see we are keeping decreased defense, decreased attack up, at least for part of this fight, which is really good. And that's kind of the whole goal here. Now, I might be making a couple little errors, right? I'm not sure if I should have Krisk in the lead. Maybe I should have like one of the Umekos or something in there instead. I don't know that it's really going to matter, but these are like little nuanced things that can kind of change the outcome of the run, right? And so I'll try and reach out to, before we finish this video, right? I'll try and at the very end kind of come up with any little nuanced things that Victor or Mullet Reaver can relay to me, impart on you guys, so you have a better understanding of all the little tricks and tips and tricks to make this run work extremely well for you. But as you can see, the setup, very simple. The running of it is very simple. And of course, it just becomes, how do I mitigate as much damage as I can along the way? That becomes really the big thing to make those shields last as long as possible. So yeah, it's turn 9. I'm gonna go away for a little bit. I'll come back in 50 turns. We'll see where we're at. Okay, so I'll see you in about 40 turns from now. All right, we're coming up on turn 50 right here. As you can see, we're still growing the shield, still staying alive here, as it's still kind of, everything's growing up. And you can see 1.6 million damage from Corpulent Cadaver. I do have some counterattack accessories on him. That's a lot of damage. 1.6 per hit, and he's getting 2 hits per turn because everybody's going on a 2-1 ratio. That's how I feel like we can maximize our damage potential in this team, is by doing that. And it seems to be working good. We're getting basically, between every clan boss turn, we're getting 2 attacks that are growing the shield from Brogni. So the shield at this point has no chance of actually being reduced. We're growing it a lot more than the clan boss is able to reduce it. And we have 2 shields, so we're doubling that up even more so. So it's a pretty awesome ability that Brogni has. I think he does 30% of the damage is transferred to those shields. So he's doing 100,000 damage on those hits. That means the shield is growing by 30,000 each. That's 60,000. And he's doing that twice. So we're getting 120,000 growth on our shields between each clan boss attack. That's pretty massive, right? So I'm really curious to see where we can get to, but obviously there's no slowing down with this team, right? We're just gonna keep on trucking. There's obviously, I can already tell, there's some things I can do to optimize this team even further, but when we're at 140 million 54 turns in, I don't know how much more optimizing I really need to do. Unless we're measuring stuff here, or trying to claim top dog status, which I don't need to do. I'm fine with that. The 2 billion cap is a pretty amazing result. I don't think I'm going to hit that. Obviously, blessings play a major part in that. 4-starring champions and that kind of thing plays a major part in that as well. Ascending your gear plays a major part in that. I mean, all the things kind of have to come together to get to that kind of level, but this is how it's done. A team just like this one So let's skip another 50 turns. Let's see where we're at around turn 100. Okay, I'll be back. Well, guys, here we are, turn 89 or so, doing crazy damage, like 328 million damage is no small amount right there, right? It's just kind of wild when you think about it. And we're getting crazy hits from Corpulent Cadaver as well. Like, look at how much damage he's doing. It's so stupid. And I mean, that's such a huge gain. 2.7 million right there. And that's a huge gain from where he was just a little bit ago, right? I mean, this team's like doubled our damage in 40 turns or something like that, more than that. So yeah, it's a wild comp. It obviously runs for a while. Now, I think the total turn count is probably going to be about 120, 130 turns. Because remember, it's limited not by turns it's not by like boss turns, but by individual champion and boss turns, right? So you can see it right there. The turn count limit is up now. We passed 1,000, so we've got 500 more. We're 2/3 of the way through on this comp, but the shields look just as strong, and everything seems to be going pretty good. Now, I will point out, Krisk only has 1 shield on now, while everybody else has 2. The Divine Shield already wore off on Krisk, and typically what ends up happening is the boss will destroy one of the 2 shields first. The negative part of that means that we're growing half as much shield now, right? Brogni's only growing part of Krisk's shield, not all of Krisk's shield. So that's definitely a negative thing, but I think we'll be okay. It looks like we're going pretty strong, and we're still climbing 2.8 million. Okay, well, look, it's turn 94, over 1,000 turns in. Let's we'll jump forward a little bit and come back in a little while here. Okay, turn 114. You can see we added another 250 turn counts or so to it, and we're at over 500 million damage. A ridiculous amount. The shields are still going strong. 3.2 million from Corpulent Cadaver now, so we're doing even more damage. His shield just does not seem to be falling. Like, I want to come back when it actually looks like he's, it's going down more than it's growing, but I don't know if that's going to happen. We really might keep the shield up for the entirety of this fight. It's insane what he's doing right now. I'm a little worried about Krisk only having the 1 shield, but he seems strong. That shield doesn't seem to be decreasing any either, right? Like, it still seems to be growing. So this team is still insane. I can't believe we've done over 500 million damage. 500 million damage is absolutely wild, and 3.3 coming from Corpulent every attack. All right, well, let's go forward. I'm gonna try and stop this right. I think right before we hit that turn count limit is what we'll do. So we're gonna jump ahead again. I'll see you guys in a minute. Okay, turn 130 now. We're getting pretty close. We're about 80 turns away from that limit. Chris Shield's looking a little bit crispy. That's definitely not as big as it was before, but we're still doing insane damage here along the way. Yeah, you're definitely seeing it fall down now. 3.6 million still from Corpulent. And that's crazy numbers that he's putting up there, which is wild. 650 million damage total for this team. Oh boy. Yeah, this is an insanely good team here. Can't believe we're doing this much damage. And I can't also, like, we're doing 660 million damage. How did those guys hit 2 billion, right? Mullet Reaver, Victor Tez, like, hats off to you guys. Just super comps to be able to do that, to optimize it. Okay, and there we lose Krisk. We took a hit so hard we ended up losing Krisk. So now this run, we're going to be pretty much dusted here, right? We don't have the extension anymore for the shields. Obviously Brogni and Corpulent survived, but yeah, now we do no damage. There goes Brogni. Corpulent does 11,000 damage on the final one. 676,608,000 damage. That's an insane run, guys. That's absolutely insane. 38 minutes for a clan boss team. We almost hit the turn limit count. Didn't quite get there. I'm honestly a little disappointed we didn't get there, but clearly we have some improvements we could still make. All the same. I mean, like, absolutely insane numbers. I mean, Corpulent doing the like 500 plus million damage. Brogni did 660 million. That's not too bad. I mean, Brimstone and HP Burn, pretty nice combo. Plus he's hitting for like 100k every time through, so not too bad. But this is an insane team, really well crafted. Hats off to Those folks that kind of figured this out and put this together, Victor Tez, Mullet Reaver, like you guys are, you know, insanely smart people, insanely well done. And yeah, this, you know, it's funny. Like it's not a hard team to put together, hard team to optimize, but to put together and get a success out of, not that difficult. Okay, let's look at the champions, and we're going to start here with Krisk. Obviously, he's an insane champion, really good, makes this whole thing work by extending the duration of all those buffs. His increased speed allows us to go at that 2-1 ratio. Now, I have him at 267 speed, just slower than Yumeko's, and I think that's going to be important as far as getting this speed tune to work. Now, not to say this is the only speed tune that works. This is just the one that I found that worked for me, that I used, but feel free to play around the calculator. All these champions will work in there. But obviously, you know, having a couple different sets like Fortitude and Immortal, maybe we don't need those and instead can focus on things like Stalwart. Obviously, I just took them for my Hydra build, so I didn't mess around with it too much. But do recommend the support tree, especially lasting, Master Hexer, to extend the duration of those debuffs that he places. And then we have Yumeko. We have two Yumekos. This is going to be the slow one, right? 269 speed. Obviously, the other one's going to be just slightly faster, 270 or so, but they really need to be right around the same speed, and it'll work that way. Masteries, this one has the defense and offensive tree. The other one has the offense and support tree. Doesn't really matter. As far as I can tell, they both survived a very long time, and their shields weren't anywhere close to cracking. So I think you can actually build them more attack heavy rather than defense heavy. One of them had about 3,500 defense. The other one has about 4,500 defense. So not a huge difference there as far as I can tell. One thing I will say is for the Yumeko that you focus the stun on, I would actually try to keep the HP as low as possible so they take as little damage as possible. And it doesn't matter because we have the shield anyway, right? And then maximize their defense because that's going to help mitigate that portion of it. As it was, didn't seem to affect anything in this run. And we were almost to the turn count limit, so I wouldn't really worry about it. I'd probably focus more on their damage abilities. And then we have Underpriest Brogni. Underpriest Brogni is obviously a beast. The more attack you put on them, the bigger those shields will get. When we're talking end game, like, I mean, we're talking really end game, like, you know, 2 billion damage end game, we're talking like 5,000 attack. I have 3,700, which I thought was pretty good, but obviously there's room to improve that. Getting a +4 Brogni does a lot for that. Getting full blessings does a lot for that. And so there's lots of ways to kind of improve that. You know, having cruelty on one of your champions is definitely a good way to go with that, I would say, to help lower the damage of, or the defense of the boss. Even Stalwart or Lethal Gear wouldn't go amiss to help build those shields as much as possible. Really all we're going to be caring about. Obviously, we need some level of defense to help mitigate the damage so the shield stays on, but generally, yeah, you know, from what I could see in that run, it doesn't even really matter how much defense we have on these champions. Because their shields are so big and the ally protection from Krisk is so valuable, that's not even going to be a factor in this run. And then very last is Corpulent Cadaver. Now, Corpulent Cadaver, the most important thing we can do is mitigate as much damage as possible. We want his shields to be as big as possible for obvious reasons. The bigger the shield, that means the more damage he's going to do. So Stalwart gear, Defiant gear. We definitely, you'll notice we had a divine set on all of our champions, which is going to be important to get that second shield to build up. That's what we want. So we do need that on Corpulent, but we don't need crit rate. We don't need crit damage. None of that matters. All we need is defense and more defense. That's it. Okay, so that's the team. That's the run. I was really happy getting that 676 million. I've never really run this team full bore like this. I had, you know, I had this idea too, and I've seen the guys, you know, be able to put up those crazy numbers. And when I realized I had two Yumekos, I was like, I can actually do this team and showcase. And I thought that would be pretty fun for you guys. Obviously, it's a whale team, right? I mean, two Yumekos. Are you kidding me? And a Krisk? Like, it's crazy, but it's darn cool, right? Doing that kind of crazy damage. Seeing Corpulent Cadaver doing 3.6 million damage per hit is pretty insane. So it's definitely a lot of fun to be able to, you know, put this together, try it out and see what we could do. If I had like insane god level gear, maybe I'd even try to see how high I could get. Maybe I could get to 1 billion damage, but it's not really necessary, right? For me, I have no desire to do a 38-minute clan boss run just to, you know, show how big my muscles are. I don't need that. Still very confident about things, but it is fun to be able to do this kind of stuff, right? And so I definitely am glad that I was able to do this at least once, right? And honestly, it might not be fun. It might not be a bad idea to do it more than once. If I didn't have some other things going on, that might be, you know, something I would really be focusing on, trying to maximize the damage of this team. But that's not the case, and so I'm not going to do that. but I think you guys probably got a little bit of enjoyment out of it. And, you know, hopefully this, if you are interested in building this team, you now have a template upon which to do that. So that's pretty cool too. So that's going to be today's video. Guys, do make sure to check out that sponsor. There is a link down below in the pinned comment and description of this video. So please go check them out. I think it's going to be a pretty fun game and something you guys are all going to enjoy. So I recommend you give it a shot. And that's all we got for today's video. So until next we meet, I'm the Deadwood Jedi.